So before I mentioned that in order for a bill to be discussed and then voted on, it has to be put on a calendar by the House Rules Committee. There are actually 7 congressional calendars, 5 for the House, 2 for the Senate. The 5 House congressional calendars are the Union calendar, which is about raising money or spending money, the House calendar, which is about majorly important bills that have nothing to do with money, which really, how many of those can there really be? There's the private calendar for private bills that don't affect public welfare, the consent calendar for non-controversial bills, and the discharge calendar for discharge petitions. The 2 Senate calendars are the executive calendar for presidential nominations, treaties, things like that that the Senate has to approve, usually by a 2/3 majority vote. There's also the calendar of business for anything that's legislation. Basically anything else. So in the final section in this episode on Congress, I'm going to talk about criticisms of Congress. One of the biggest criticisms of Congress has to do with what's called the pork barrel. Basically what that is the amount of money that is given out in the form of federal aid and grants to different states and districts. The term comes from back in the Deep South in like the 1800s. They would open up barrels of pork and call for the slaves to come, and it would be like this huge stampede of aggressively grabbing for pork. And basically what the term refers to is the fact that the people who get the most money aren't necessarily the people who need the most money. It's just the people who are the most aggressive in going after that money. The congressman who gets the most money actually is a representative from Alaska. And you kind of have to wonder, like, Alaska doesn't have that many people. Alaska doesn't, I mean, not to be hating on Alaska or anything, but how can Alaska need more money than any other state? So that just goes to show you that your congressperson can try, but money isn't always going to go where it's most needed. Another term that refers to a practice of Congress that's criticized is log rolling. It's kind of like an I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine, I'll help you, you help me kind of thing. Like, I'll support your bill even though the people in my district don't agree with it if you support my bill. Another major criticism of Congress is the term limits debate about how you can run as many times as you want. A lot of people say that that doesn't really, especially because incumbents have such a high chance of winning over new people. It just kind of seems like Congress doesn't really change, so how can it change to people's changing views and needs? Inefficiency is another big criticism of Congress. I really shortened down explaining how a bill becomes a law. It can get dragged out and drawn out and it can take forever. But the Founding Fathers didn't want Congress to be efficient. They said that an efficient government was a sign of a dictatorial government. So, next time someone criticizes you for being inefficient, say, hey, that just means I'm not a dictator, which is always a good thing, I guess. Another criticism of Congress is malapportionment or drawing districts wrong. Basically what that is drawing districts in weird ways, or creating districts in areas that don't need to be new districts, things like that. It's a practice called gerrymandering because of this representative called Elridge Gerry, who had districts drawn in the shape of salamanders in Massachusetts, because that way his party, if the district was drawn weirdly, then his party could get a majority and win representatives. That isn't seen so much anymore, but those are the major criticisms of Congress. That concludes the first episode of Encyclopedia Kara from the AP Government Expansion Pack. The focus was on Congress. My main resource material was this book. If you have any questions or recommendations for topics you'd like me to cover next, you can contact me at questionkara@gmail.com. Thank you!